In the vast, chaotic landscape of World War II, countless battles were fought with tanks, planes, and infantry. But there was another battlefield, one built not on firepower but on illusion. This is the untold story of a secret American unit that fought an enemy by tricking them. A unit so unusual, so creative, and so daring that for decades after the war, their existence remained hidden. They were artists, they were designers, they were actors, sound engineers, and painters. Yet they were also soldiers. And the mission given to them was unlike anything the U.S. Army had attempted before. This is the story of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, better known as the Ghost Army. By 1944, the Allies were pushing eastward through France after the success of D-Day. But as they advanced, a serious problem emerged. The German army, though weakened, remained highly skilled at identifying troop movements and predicting where the next Allied attack would come from. If the Allies could confuse German commanders, make them see divisions where none existed, their real units could break through more easily, with fewer casualties. So the U.S. Army decided to take a gamble. They would build a special deception unit, not just a small team of spies or codebreakers, but a fully equipped mobile force capable of pretending to be an entire division of up to 30,000 men, even though the unit itself had fewer than 1,100. To achieve this miracle of misdirection, the Army recruited an unlikely group from art schools, advertising agencies, and creative studios across America. Painters, sculptors, illustrators, sound engineers, architects, radio technicians, and a handful of professional showmen, all brought together for a single purpose: to create illusions so convincing that German reconnaissance would fall for them, every time. These men trained at Camp Forest, Tennessee. To the regular soldiers stationed nearby, they looked like any other American unit. But behind the scenes, they worked on sketches, sound rigs, inflatable prototypes, and scripted radio dialogues. They weren't preparing to kill the enemy. They were preparing to fool them. Some of the recruits would later become world-famous artists. Among them, Ellsworth Kelly, who would go on to redefine American modern art, and Bill Blass, who later became an iconic fashion designer. At the time, though, they were young Americans packing paintbrushes alongside rifles. The Ghost Army had 4 main deception techniques: visual, sonic, radio, and tactical. Each was powerful on its own. Together, they formed one of the most effective deception forces in military history. One of the unit's most astonishing creations was its arsenal of inflatable equipment. These rubberized decoys looked shockingly real from a distance, and just real enough from the air. Inflatable M4 Sherman tanks, artillery pieces, jeeps, even aircraft. A real Sherman tank weighed 30 tons. A Ghost Army tank? About 90 pounds. Soldiers could carry it under one arm or fold it into the back of a truck. They positioned these decoys, inflated them in minutes, and, if German scouts approached, would sometimes pretend to perform maintenance on them, making the illusion more convincing. They could create an entire armored division in a single afternoon, and when needed elsewhere, they deflated it, packed it up, and vanished, leaving the Germans confused and scrambling to reposition their defenses. The Ghost Army also built fake camps, fake headquarters, and fake supply dumps. They hung laundry lines full of fake uniforms and set up fake mess tents. Everything, every detail, was carefully designed to mimic the presence of thousands of men who didn't exist. But a visual illusion wasn't enough. A real division made noise, lots of it. Engines, trucks, armor tracks, hammering, shouting, commands, the chaos of movement. To create this illusion, the Ghost Army worked with engineers from Hollywood and the sound experts of Bell Labs. They recorded real tanks, real columns, and real machinery on massive 500-pound audio reels. These sounds could be mixed live to match whatever illusion the unit needed to project. Mounted on giant speakers, the sound equipment could blast noise up to 15 miles away. A quiet field at dusk could suddenly sound like a huge armored column rolling into place. German listening posts heard what they expected, a division moving up for attack. But nothing was really there, except a few sound engineers hiding behind bushes with recording equipment. The third deception technique was radio mimicry. Real divisions had constant radio chatter, messages, commands, position updates, logistics coordination. German intelligence monitored these frequencies carefully. So the Ghost Army created carefully scripted radio traffic, mimicking the speech patterns, call signs, and communication habits of the real units they were impersonating. Operators memorized the personal quirks of actual radio officers, how they phrased commands, how fast they spoke, even the mistakes they tended to make. To German intelligence, this traffic looked authentic. Combined with visual and sonic illusions, entire fake divisions sprang into existence on their listening boards. The final deception method might have been the boldest: acting. Ghost Army soldiers would impersonate officers from other units. They visited cafes, bars, and local villages, talking loudly about troop movements that were entirely fabricated. They planted rumors. They exaggerated supply requests. They staged fake HQ meetings in public view. They even painted fake unit numbers on their vehicles, knowing German scouts often relied on such markings. Every detail mattered. The cut of a jacket, the way a colonel held himself, the way soldiers joked around when they thought nobody was listening. The Ghost Army didn't just build illusions, they lived them. The Ghost Army's first major deception took place near the French city of Brest in August 1944. Their job: distract German forces while real American units attempted to seize the port city. Using inflatable tanks and sonic tricks, the Ghost Army created the impression of a huge armored buildup. The Germans, believing they faced overwhelming force, diverted troops and fortified the wrong areas. This allowed real Allied units to advance with significantly fewer casualties. But Brest was only the beginning. Throughout 1944 and 1945, the Ghost Army executed more than 20 full-scale deceptions across France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. Their illusions repeatedly saved thousands of Allied lives. In December 1944, Germany launched a surprise counterattack in the Ardennes, what we now call the Battle of the Bulge. The sudden assault tore through thinly defended American lines. Many units were isolated. Chaos swept across the front. The Ghost Army was ordered to help stabilize the situation. In freezing conditions, they moved rapidly through Belgium, creating the illusion of strong American reinforcements. Using a mix of inflatable artillery and carefully staged sonic deception, they made it appear as if an entire division had arrived to plug the gap. German forces hesitated, unsure of the strength in front of them. That hesitation bought critical time for real American divisions to regroup. The Ghost Army's actions here didn't win the battle, but they prevented it from becoming far worse. The Ghost Army's final and greatest deception occurred in March 1945. The mission was called Operation Viersen, and it was vital to the Allied push into Germany. The real U.S. Ninth Army planned to cross the Rhine River at a carefully selected point. To keep this operation secret, the Ghost Army created a massive fake crossing site over 10 miles away. They set up inflatable boats, fake engineering equipment, phony supply depots, and more than 600 dummies representing troops preparing for a river assault. They blasted sounds of construction, engines, and troop movement through the night. German reconnaissance planes reported the buildup, and enemy units shifted to defend the fake crossing. Meanwhile, the real Ninth Army crossed the Rhine with dramatically reduced resistance. Historians estimate that Operation Viersen alone saved thousands of American lives. The Ghost Army's work was heroic, but it was also dangerous. Because they posed as major military units, they often found themselves directly in the path of enemy fire. At times, they were so close to the front line that German artillery targeted their divisions, unaware they were shooting at rubber tanks. Despite their small numbers, the Ghost Army suffered casualties. Some men were killed, others wounded. Yet their mission continued, even though they could rarely reveal the truth about what they were doing. They fought with creativity instead of bullets, with deception instead of firepower, and with courage that was no less real than that of any infantryman. When World War II ended, the Ghost Army quietly returned home. Their work was classified. Their achievements were locked away. For more than 4 decades, the soldiers of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops were forbidden from speaking openly about their missions. No interviews, no memoirs, no recognition. They blended back into civilian life, some becoming famous artists, designers, or architects, while others simply lived ordinary lives, their extraordinary service unknown. It wasn't until the 1990s that their story finally began to emerge, and not until 2013 that many of their missions were fully declassified. Today, the Ghost Army is recognized as one of the most ingenious and effective deception forces in military history. In 2022, after years of advocacy, Congress awarded them the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the United States' highest honors. Their legacy is now preserved in museums, documentaries, and history books, proof that creativity, imagination, and art can be powerful tools even in the darkest moments of war. The Ghost Army didn't win battles with gunfire. They won them with brilliance, with courage, with bold, theatrical deception that saved countless lives. Their story reminds us that heroism comes in many forms, sometimes in the shape of a paintbrush, a speaker system, or a rubber tank. For decades, their work remained in silence. Now, at last, their voices and their illusions are finally seen for what they were, a masterpiece of wartime ingenuity. This was the untold story of the Ghost Army,